Support for Radio Friends comes from OsteoStrong, aiming to improve bone density, muscular strength, and balance. Improvement in balance can be achieved by practicing on their Vibe Plate. Gains in strength and bone density can occur through weekly 5-minute no-sweat coach sessions on their isometric machines. Each machine safely emulates a high-load impact on a different part of the skeletal system, enhancing bone density by stimulating your own bone-building cells. Visit them on Facebook or call for a complimentary session. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Wednesday, February 26th. Nanette Ward is with us today. Good to have you here, Nanette. Stop human trafficking. Right?
Yes.
And this is something that you have worked with and for so many years.
April, the coalition's anniversary coming up, will be 12 years.
12 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is a problem it's a problem, but a lot of people don't realize it's a problem. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say. It is the second largest criminal enterprise worldwide, and it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise. It's second only to drug trafficking. So
this is the second largest criminal enterprise worldwide.
Yeah, so you figure that the commodification or the illegal trade in human beings, men, women, and children, is second only to the illegal trade of drugs.
You said men, women, and children. Normally you don't think of men as being part of being trafficked.
Well, so we're talking about both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. So human trafficking is when a trafficker uses force, fraud, or coercion to make an individual engage in commercial sex act, but also in forced labor against their will. And so many men are used in forced labor, but also in the sex industry. We should not be assuming that it's all women and girls. They are the higher percentage of victims in sex trafficking, but certainly boys and men are targeted and are victims in that form of trafficking as well.
And you said forced labor. What do you mean by forced labor?
So, for example, we have construction crews in Colombia. We have them all around the United States. You have construction crews, lawn crews, and there can be individuals who are foreign-born that have been recruited from another country to come and work. And in fact, they become a victim because they're not paid properly. They're not housed properly. They're threatened. Their documents are taken.
Are you saying that then people who are the construction companies are knowingly?
Sometimes knowingly, sometimes they're subcontracted. So, for example,
they may not even realize.
I spoke at a hotel, and the hotel owner actually said, I probably had unknowingly hired a subcontractor who, in fact, might have been trafficking individuals who worked on my hotel site. And so that can truly be the reality. On the other hand, it can be someone knowingly. So we had a young man who was actually not foreign-born, U.S. citizen, recruited from Jacksonville, Florida, by a boss who hired 8 laborers to work on a major remodeling job in mid-Missouri, and had a van with a logo and the whole bit. They agreed on what they got paid. It all was legitimate, but they never got paid. All the weeks that they worked never got paid. And so when the job was done, they were all staying in a cheap motel here in Columbia, Missouri, and the job was somewhere.
This is a true story.
This is a survivor that we actually helped, which speaks to this toll-free number that we're going to address as well. So what happened was, after working 23 days and not getting paid as was agreed upon, and of course they're sticking with it, hoping to get paid. The arrangement was for everybody to load up and go back to Jackson in Florida the next morning. They were all 8 workers in 4 different rooms at a cheap motel here in Columbia. He and his roommate woke up the next day, and the other 6 workers and the boss were gone, just abandoned them. And so they had no money, no connections here in Columbia, and the other roommate found resources and got money wired, but the other gentleman had no resources, and he was just stuck here in Columbia with no money and not being paid, and not even really sure where he had gone for this other job because he wasn't familiar with Missouri. He just knew he got on the van and went somewhere, and they worked from morning to night. So he was a victim of labor trafficking. This person who hired him knowingly intended to.
They never intended to pay these people.
At least not the two roommates, and who knows about the other 6 laborers? We don't know. And they wouldn't answer the phone. We got him hooked up with law enforcement. Law enforcement could not find anything to follow up on. There was no proper.
Wait a minute. Couldn't they go to the jobs that they were working on?
Yeah. So it was a one job site. It was a fancy remodeling job at a mansion. The gentleman understandably couldn't figure out exactly where it was. However, law enforcement went to City Hall to find the permit that should have been gotten for all of the debris that came about that should have been disposed of in this job. And there was no proper permit. So there was no record. There was no record at the cheap motel of that length of stay under his boss's name. So
how was the hotel room paid for?
So who knows exactly, but what we do know was there no record of under that boss's name of those 4 rooms being rented. So who knows what kind of
weren't they? What they knew
sure,
what they were
absolutely. So in that case, it was very intentional. Directly, the person who hired them, he had some ideas in mind of how he was going to get away with not paying at least some of his workers. Absolutely.
I just don't understand how somebody can be so mean and nasty.
And so it's greed, money, profit. So there's a profit margin every business person wants to have, and if they know they can exploit a person in the labor and get a higher profit, then that's what fuels the labor trafficking. And then the commercial sex industry, what fuels that is a demand. So we have a demand of people wanting to buy cheap products, which is all of us. Then you have a demand in the commercial sex industry of people who actually will pay for someone else for sexual performances. So we have to acknowledge that there's a demand that drives both these crimes, both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. And so that gentleman, what happened was he went to the Midway to try to get help to get a ride back to Jacksonville, Florida, and someone gave him the toll-free number there at the Midway.
And he
called, and he was referred to the coalition. So this toll-free number will get you to some real help.
So were you able to help this gentleman?
We were. We went and got him. We gave him temporary lodging, some food. We hooked him up with law enforcement, and they did everything they could to try to track down some lead for bringing.
I hope they find him. I hope they find him.
Yeah, and then with the donations the coalitions got, we helped get him a ticket back by bus to his home.
Okay. If people want more information, or if they feel that they know someone who is being trafficked, what do they do? So
we want to let people know that the Department of Public Safety has been distributing since March of last year. This is the Missouri National Hotline poster.
Okay. It's 888-373-7888.
Yes. And there's a list on the Department of Public Safety website that tells us where they should be: hotels, motels, airport, bus stations. Get a hold of these, get a hold of the coalition, and we'll help you get posters.
Let me give it to you one more time. 888-373-7888 is the number. Nanette, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Okay, our pleasure. Drop me an email, pepperp@missouri.edu. Bye-bye.